Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. This bright in the office today. Bright Monday, nice Monday. A little chilly here. Welcome to the morning discussion. Not much happening in the tropics, which is good. We're starting to wind things down in the Atlantic. So I figured I would jump in and just kind of recap things. I'll do more of that this afternoon on the afternoon update. And gotta put the phone away. Too many distractions. Anyway, good to see everybody. Had a good week last week. Went up to New York and met with Fox Weather, and I debuted. Very happy about this. First time on Weather Network television. I think it had been done before on News Network television. Um, but I think for the first time in the weather world, we debuted 360 video, and it wasn't just showing it on TV. That's been done before, people's 360 cams, but putting Ian Oliver in the driver's seat, gosh, that was exactly what I was wanting. That's what the big reveal was, and it has never been done like that, where the talent is controlling the situation. It's not editorialized by means of, okay, here's 20 seconds of video and this is the shot. And it is what it is. And you see the same thing over and over again. It's going to be different every time. And this is just the start. That's one of the topics I'll show you in case you missed it. But yeah, hurricane season winding down. Let me share the screen and let's jump over here to YouTube and see who all we got. As I call it, the lecture hall, or conference room or meeting hall, whatever. 33 people filing in so far. Good to see everybody for sure. All right. Um, so hurricane season starting to come to an end here. Sarah, last advisory written, and that is that. In my afternoon update today, I'm going to take a look through a nice post from Tomer Berg as to what went wrong from a meteorological perspective with Sarah, because boy, oh boy, it looked like it was going to be a big exclamation point for the United States. Certainly was a big deal for Central America. There has been lots of flooding. There's been loss of life. We don't want to detract from that at all. But that is way different than what we were thinking. That the models for a couple of days there, the GFS, the Euro especially, the operationals led people like me and many others down a path where we were like, oh, this looks like it's going to happen. And it did not. I mean, even the short term stuff where it was going to become very strong right off the coast of Central America, that didn't even happen. A huge bust for both models there in the short term, 2, 3, 4 days, just whiffed it. And then, of course, everything after that is just collapsed in terms of what would happen. And it ended up being a very big rain event for Central America. So we'll look at that on the afternoon update today. And I got to stop the screen share just for a sec because I got to get my telestrator up and running. And this will give me time to ad lib. In the afternoon update, did you know that 4 typhoons have run through the Philippines over the last 10 days to 2 weeks or whatever it is? And there's another post on social media, on Twitter. I call it Twitter still. That's okay. Um, call it whatever you want. I don't care. Really good post on there with this animation showing 1, 2, 3, 4 going through the Philippines. And Josh Morganman was out there for this last one. Um, Looks like that it was a little bit more than he thought it was going to be, looking at one of his posts. But yeah, the Philippines have been hammered, and I think it's important just to cover some global weather. So we'll take a look at that in the afternoon video discussion as well. Let's go back to sharing the old screen. Now that I can draw on it, whee, there we go. Oh, that's terrible. I got to make a thicker stroke line, as they call it. There we go. Let's draw a big smiley face this morning, shall we? Just to make sure everything's working. All right, there we go. What is Mark doing? He's lost his mind. There we are. Making sure it's working. I've been out for a few days and traveling and even more traveling. Went up to Raleigh this weekend and had a tennis tournament and cheer competition for my daughter. And by the way, my son won the tennis tournament. He's 14. He went 3 matches, got it. I'm really happy for him. Goalkeeper, basketball player, and tennis player. Won't be long for we'll be looking for colleges, and hopefully it'll be free because of his athleticism and his grades. Anyway, so yeah, I've been traveling a lot. That's why I'm like, oh, I gotta shake the cobwebs off. Look at this out here. I was checking things out. I was like, dang, look at all the westerly winds out here everywhere. Season's pretty much done. It's just troughing. I mean, there's a pretty good ridge sitting right there. You can just see the clockwise flow around it, but southwesterly winds, dry air abounds. Sarah was an attempt, um, and it, again brought heavy rain down here, but it did not do that, which is what it looked like it could do in some of the modeling there. I can't wait to show you this really neat analysis from Tomer about how it all just went to the toilet with the modeling there. This is going to be a problem. Already been some severe weather. Luckily, the dynamics aren't there for it to be too bad. After all, it is getting towards late November here. But times are changing. We're going to get some troughing in the east. Winter weather is finally going to show up over parts of the Northeast. We'll look at that as well. And what else do I have for you? Oh, yeah, sea surface temperature anomalies. We'll be watching this all the time. And I saw an interesting post from somebody, I can't remember who, basically saying that the La Nina failed. I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. That's up to the Climate Prediction Center to determine that CPC. But the Atlantic Basin remains average. Yeah, right. Warmer than average. Really do have to shake the cobwebs off, don't I? The Atlantic Basin, not the classic horseshoe shape of the warmth, but certainly pretty close. And we're starting to chill things off here in the subtropics. And yeah, we'll worry about next year's hurricane season later. We'll watch the anomalies here as they progress over the coming months. But one thing I'm going to do is put less and less emphasis on sea surface temperature anomalies in terms of how they can drive a season because it looks like we're just stuck with a warm Atlantic relative to the 30-year average, and then in and out of either El Nino, neutral, or La Nina, or close to La Nina. But the Atlantic Basin has not been cooler than average in I don't know when. I have to go back and look. I'll ask Dylan, my friend Dylan Federico, he'll know. So, what's the point in continuing to harp on how warm the Atlantic is when we're just always going to get 15 to 20 named storms, it looks like. Unless something drastically changes, we'll go back to sharing the screen. Um, I could see, for example, we'll use blue here. Like if all this filled in with blue at some point, and we had a very cold Atlantic relative to average, yes, I think that would change things up. But this warm Atlantic just seems to be sticking around since, again, maybe 2016, something like that. It just looks like it stayed very warm all the time. And then you ebb and flow the Inso state over here, the El Nino Southern Oscillation phenomenon, to either, like I said, positive side, neutral, a little bit negative this year, and then it's just a matter of what are the steering patterns like in the Atlantic. Apparently, the other big change is 2016 until now, mostly Gulf landfalls. Very little activity on the East Coast, and that includes Florida. Very odd, very odd. So probably towards the end of the month, if I can get him on one of these discussions, we'll just have to figure out the timing. Get Dr. Klotzbach, Phil Klotzbach, to come in or maybe he and I can just do a long form podcast about it, like a really long edition of Hurricane U, our little educational series that we'll do. We'll go Joe Rogan and do like 3 hours. I mean, hey, some people like to listen to those. You got stuff like 15 minutes long and the other end of the spectrum, like Rogan does, and some of these other podcasts where it's like 3 hours. Our podcast that I do, Stories from the Hurricane Highway, those are long. Why not? Anyway, rambling, sorry. But I think it would be interesting to discuss where are we in the whole like paradigm of things because the Atlantic's just staying warm. We're either in El Nino or we're not. And then what else is happening? Like we're gonna have to look at kind of shifting things around at how we look at things because this year, um, it worked out that it was a hyperactive season, technically speaking, but some of those big numbers didn't happen, and we had that big gap there. Like, what's going on? I think it'd be good to look into that. All right. Now, look, we still need to track stuff like the INSO. There's no question about it. And I think this is interesting. Is the CFV2 broken? Because what is this? Just bam! It's gonna just fall off a cliff in the now, basically. I guess we can look into that, look at some of the Hofmolar diagrams. I'll do that this afternoon. I got to remember that. Those are the ones that shows you the wind patterns at 850 millibars over the tropics. See if we're going to get a lot of easterly wind, because that is one heck of a dive off the cliff there. Whee! Down we go. And then it rebounds, and we stay cool neutral through July, according to the CFS V2, last updated today. How about that? So, lots of different ways to track this. One of them from the land down under, the SOI, Southern Oscillation Index. I haven't shown this in a long time. Literally a barometer of what's going on with the pressure patterns. I mean, it really is. It's the difference in pressures between Tahiti and Darwin, and it's a long-standing barometer. I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny. That's what it is. Measuring stick, whatever you want to call it, of the pressure pattern across the tropical Pacific. And the SOI, basically, when it's strongly positive, you get La Nina, and when it's strongly negative, you get El Nino. And it has to stay persistent, right? So August number was 5.9. September was basically neutral at 0.36. October came back up a little bit. So we were basically in neutral territory overall because Bureau of Meteorology typically looks at La Nina as a SOI of about 7 or higher on a consistent basis. And we haven't had that in a while. In fact, the daily numbers today were at 9, so that's just slightly above the 7, right? The 90-day average is at 3. That's pretty close to neutral overall in terms of La Nina. You don't have a strong La Nina signal there. And then, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, 30-day is also basically at 4, right? So we'll watch this as well and see how this fluctuates because that helps to dictate this. Basically, what you have when the SOI is strongly positive, you get more easterly, or sorry, westerly. Come on, Mark. Start over. When the SOI is strongly positive, you get more easterly winds coming from east to west. And when it's strongly negative, the reverse is true, and you get more westerly winds. And it takes this warm pool over here and shifts it, and a bunch of other stuff, downwelling, where you literally push the warm water down and it creates El Nino. All of that's very complex, isn't it? Yes, it is. But we can look at it in simple stuff like these. Just graph it to make it easy. All right? So lower 48 weather, we're going to be getting into that more and more. I am a snow lover, and most people are. Some people hate it. That's okay. They move to Florida when they hate it, don't they? Um, Big winter storms, very interesting, especially lake effect snow, nor'easters, those ones that really crank up off the coast of Massachusetts, Long Island, but really eastern Massachusetts. You think about Scituate and Marshfield up there, lots of areas in and around Plymouth. It's where Phil, I think he grew up there, Plymouth, Mass. And we're going to be sure to tackle those again this year. Big coastal storms, anything on the Outer Banks. That's all part of what we cover. We're able to do so really since about the last 10 years, really started getting into more winter weather thanks to the support of our Patreon folks, that because it costs money. I can't just throw everything on a credit card and hope that I can pay it off later. So really from about 2014 on, it's been actually more than 10 years now, right? 12 years. Been able to, no, it's 10 years. Gosh, I really do. Was I in the fight in Dallas and somebody hit me and my brain ain't working? I don't know. 10 years ago, man. Um, I started the winter weather stuff, and it continues today. Yes, indeed. I got to get out in that sunshine. That's what it is. I got to go warm up. I'm like a cold-blooded creature. I got to lay out, warm up like a lizard, and then my blood will get moving and I'll be good to go. These morning discussions, they could get real interesting, especially as we get deeper into winter and it gets really cold and I'm just really sluggish. Wow. Anyway, winter weather will be an important part of what we discuss and make sure people are on top of it. The weather affects every single thing that we do. It really does. From the basics of, hey, what should the kids wear to school today, to travel and commerce, space weather, everything. It's all related. And the sun is the source of our weather because of the heating that it gives to the earth. The ground warms up, and then you get air rising and falling, and everything goes from there. So, winter weather is probably the most disruptive, widespread of the weather phenomenon that we have to deal with in the lower 48 and even globally. And you think about it, you get a really big winter storm somewhere, it snarls air traffic, then that has big ripple effects. Ground transportation can also be tricky, ice storms, heavy snows, and even in places where they are used to it, it doesn't matter. It can still be very crippling, even if it's for a day. A day of economic loss because of a town being shut down. Even the great Buffalo, New York, can get too much lake effect snow. Everything grinds to a halt, and it is very problematic. The Southeast, parts of the Deep South, Southern Plains states, when you get severe winter weather, think about 2021 with that deep freeze that we had. That's the kind of stuff that we will be looking for. High impact weather events, and even just regular impact weather events, will definitely be on the lookout. So for today, East Coast looking good. Plains got a little bit of nastiness there in parts of the southern plains with that severe weather and little mid-latitude storm in there. But out west, especially the Pacific Northwest, quite the doozy of a storm system just offshore. So storm warnings are in effect. Big waves are going to come into parts of Oregon and Washington. I hope to get out to the Seattle area this winter and cover one of those big storms that comes in. Gotten to know over social media a few people that live out there that are fascinated by the weather. And I was also out there in person with the family this summer on vacation. Went up to Alaska, spent a little bit of time, of course, in the Seattle area, went to Mount Rainier, and it is absolutely incredible out there. So getting to cover one of those big storms that comes in, that'd be neat. It really would. And then, of course, I really like the Sierras. I plan on getting back to Truckee at some point. And then I'd like to get over here. I don't know exactly where it is, roughly in here somewhere. Flagstaff, to cover some big time snow out there. Maybe Vegas when they get some snow. Southwest Utah. So yeah, we're gonna do some winter weather stuff, and then some of my favorite areas are right through here. When you get a big winter storm, covered one of those. Hey, the washing machine singing to me that, or the dryer. I guess the dryer's telling me everything's ready. I forgot to close the office door. So the cats don't come in. It's just the musical dryer. Wonder how long it's going to do that, because that's annoying. It's like the ice cream trucks outside my office. It's a Samsung. They're like, come on, stop it. Anyway, what the heck was that? Why play such a long, just whatever? I gotta remember to close the office door and we'll have to deal with that. Anyway, wow, what a morning. Um, Severe winter weather in the southern plains. Scott, one of our supporters, and I began the great year of 2024. What a year it's been. Holy cow. With a big blizzard in Dodge City and vicinity, and that was remarkable. It really was. So we'll cover that. Probably, I tell you what, the first time I look at a big snow in southwest Appalachia there, parts of southwest mountainous areas of North Carolina, Asheville and vicinity, definitely going to go up there. Folks up there really hurting in the wake of Helene. So we got to pay attention to that. Again, the lake effect snows, the Tug Hill region, Buffalo, and then nor'easters up here, Outer Banks. These are some of my target areas for this winter. And then before you know it, we'll be back to spring weather out here, and our hail project season 2 will commence. and I'll show you some more about that in just a minute. I'm going to debut some video for you that only a few of you have ever seen. Now we'll show a wider audience. So real quick, no tropic stuff. I'm not showing you like you've seen this map extent all season. Now we're just going to go with the lower 48. I'll show the other one later today, but for the morning discussion, just to get you on par with what's happening out there, there's our mid-latitude storm. That's what I call it, little mid-latitude cyclone sitting over Texas and Oklahoma. Some severe weather, heavy rain, um, and that moves on through, as you can clearly see there. And then out west, there is our Pacific storm, snow in parts of the Intermountain West and the Rockies there. It's that time of year. Finally, the pattern's changing. So this storm system comes up and gradually gives way to a big trough over the east. Some lake effect snow, but the air temperature's still just a little bit too warm for anything major. But we will get some snow in parts of the Appalachians and New York, Pennsylvania, but it's just not quite there yet for deep column cold air. So this is going to be not your big heavy snow event or anything like that. The real action looks like it's going to be out west for a bit. This is 5 days out. Some pretty good Sierra snows there. Not quite time for me to go out there just yet. I'll wait and see a bigger signal. But a pretty interesting pattern over the next 5 days for the lower 48 as we gradually get out of this stuck pattern that was giving us hurricanes and tropical concerns. Now we're going to shift more toward winter weather and all things related to that. All right. So, as I said, I went up to New York Tuesday night, flew up to LaGuardia, and a real easy flight up there. And then on Wednesday, went over to Fox Weather at the headquarters of Fox Corp there near Times Square and presented something that I was very, very excited about. And for those of you that know, you've already seen it. For those of you that don't, it is something that's been around for several years. It's not like I came up with it, but I thought this has to be on television. There must be a way to do this. And that is 360 video, immersive, not virtual reality. I mean, I guess it is, and I've done this for like 4 years, and I'll show you. I'm going to prove it to you. All the way back to 2020, we were doing 360 stuff, and I just didn't think there was much utility with it. Like you had to put on one of those Oculus or whatever, a VR headset to really appreciate it. And then we started this hail thing this year, and I got my hands on more of these 360 cams because we just wanted them around and lots of GoPros and whatever. And there was an event in Nebraska, and I'm going to show you this. We'll go share the screen again. This is what set everything off. All right. This is pretty darn remarkable. So this is up near Seneca, Nebraska, June 25th of this year. That's the 360 cam sitting on top of the giant hail guard, and that's just part of it. Remember, the camera is just a couple of inches tall by a couple of inches wide. So it's like, honey, I shrunk the kids. This is your view. You're tiny now. So you're inside of this, for the lack of a better word, this basket that's on top of the Tacoma, part of this larger hail guard. And this is a supercell. And I'm going to put this into motion. Let's turn the volume down. And we'll let it start playing here as I just kind of talk through it. There's a supercell with a severe thunderstorm warning, hail signature on it. And notice these little washers. There's one there, one there, one there. They're just random washers that were sitting up there from who knows what. But I'm going to reposition the vehicle to get ready for this supercell that's coming. Here we go, start driving. And the way it's set up, the GoPro player here, it keeps a fixed position. And once I turn and get parked, I'll show you how this all worked out. This is really, really neat. All right. So let's just turn the camera with the view anyway, not turning the camera. So, all right, now I'm parked. I'm ready to go, ready for the hail shaft to get there. There it is right there. Hopefully this comes through on YouTube. That white color in there, that's the hail core. And this is what was so cool. All right. Look at that. You can see the supercell. I mean, come on. How awesome is that? And you can zoom in and you can do all kinds of cool stuff. And you can see the hail that's coming in. In fact, we're getting ready to get a real big one here. Um, I'm going to show you what we can do with this. Let me wait for it to hit. It's coming and wait for it. I think it's like in a minute. Here we go. It's coming up. There we go. So one of them hits right there. You can go frame by frame. We go backwards. Look at that. Look at that stone right there. It hits the the hail guard, bounces off. Other ones come along. I think it's like 4 minutes and some change. There's a really big one. Let's see where it is. I think it's like 4:23 or something like that. This truck's gonna come by. Is that it right there? Because my washers are moving. There's several of them that hit. But look at this. Point is, you can see stuff like the Matrix, right? You can see the hailstones moving through the air. Really, really cool stuff. Look at that right there. That's amazing. Like I had no idea that this was going to work out the way that it did. I showed Dr. Ian Giamanco from IBHS, and he was just absolutely blown away by it. The utility that we can do for hail research and whatever. But here's the thing. I thought, if I can show folks like you on YouTube or a Zoom, which is what this is going through with Dr. Giamanco, and that's how I showed him, why can't Fox Weather output that to television? It just like was duh. So I took it to him, and but I wanted some more evidence that it would work. So we secretly set up a couple of these 360 cams during Helene and Milton. Unfortunately, as you know, those hurricanes hit at night, so we have decent video from them, but nothing that's like gonna rival my Michael video from 2018 from that box right there, which of course was just flat, regular 2D video, if you will, or whatever. Um, so anyway, I put everything together. I had what I thought would be compelling evidence that it's time to bring 360 video to the world. And just like I showed you, that demo, Ian Oliver, Steve Bender, Haley Meyer, anybody up there, they could output it and they can drive it, just like I showed you. The producer could do it, Bob Van Dillen, anybody, Nick, Ari, they could all do that, putting them in control of the video. Instead of just roll the tape, they could literally go in and do what I just showed you here. Go back and share the screen again and just demo it one more time. So this could be what they do, right? And so the view is up to them. And they can pause it, they can look up, they can look down, whatever. And this could work for anything where I send them 360 video. So that was the big deal. That was what I was so excited about. That's one example. Let me show you this other one. Let's kill that. This is really amazing here. Too much going on. This is the one from Wyoming a couple weeks earlier this year. Wait till you see this. Let me fast forward it to when I get to the hail core. So this is when I was using some quick dam flood bags to try to catch the hailstones. I was doing all kinds of experiments this year. So I get in this big hail core in Wyoming. Oh, I got to share the screen. Sorry. It's not cooperating with me. Come on. There we go. 4 years of Zoom, and I still don't have it all figured out, do I? Nope. Now it's sharing. So in Wyoming, I was driving into this big hail core, and these quick dam flood bags I had up there to soften the blow of the impacts to try to collect the stones. Trying all kinds of stuff this year, just experimenting, figuring this all out on our first year. But let me fast forward to when it really starts coming down. Look at this, man. It's just carpet bombing, golf ball, ping pong size hail. But the beauty of this is the immersive quality and nature of this video. And again, exactly what I'm showing you, Fox Weather could do on television. And that's what I went and pitched. And I mean, they were just blown away. Look how cool this is. You can zoom in, zoom out. I mean, there's a lot that could be done with this. And they agreed. And so I went up, turn that off, to the Outer Banks and Just so happens that there was a coastal storm. So I went out there and this is what we did. This was really cool. Get back over to my browser. And so here's just a little teaser. I don't want to get dinged on YouTube for copyright, so we'll just do a screenshot. Ian Oliver was the first to debut this. I was so excited about it. Mark Sudduth releases 360 video of Coastal Storm, and they did it exactly as I had met with them and talked about, where he was in control of the video, and this is the video that he showed. This was so neat. We did it off of YouTube in this case. Technical stuff with how their IT and downloading GoPro player and all that kind of mess. It's harder than I thought, but they did it on YouTube, and this is exactly what Ian was able to do. It gives you almost the same functionality as the GoPro player. You can zoom in. It just doesn't let you do the frame by frame, but this was really, really neat. And at about 2 minutes and some change, this big old refrigerator chunk comes washing in because there was a house that had fallen in about, there it is, a half a mile up the road there in Merlo Beach, and pieces of that house were coming by. But look, being able to do that like you're a camera person, that's the beauty of it. And you can go back. The YouTube player is nice because you can jump back a few seconds and see that refrigerator coming in. It's a small mini fridge, whatever. But look, being able to control it like that as if you are there. That is the beauty of this. And Fox Weather debuted it. They were the first. Network TV for weather. I think CNN did something back when there was an earthquake or something in Haiti many years back. And it might have been done in other situations. I can't remember for sure. But for weather, in this situation like this is the first time this has ever been done. Sorry, trying to figure out what in the world I'm trying to do next. So that was the big reveal there. Very happy about that. And we're going to do more. That's just the beginning. And of course, if you saw the segment, I was wearing socks and nothing else. I mean, for shoe, obviously, that would have been terrible. Uh, I took my shoes off. I was up there with this guy, Brad, that lives nearby, and he took his shoes off and his socks. I was like, I'm gonna leave my socks on because there might be some nails or seashells or just junk in the water and in the sand, and at least the sock would give me just a little bit of a buffer that I don't slice up my feet. And I had dry clothes over at this house I was staying in. I didn't care, but I don't want my shoes soaked. And no, I didn't bring any boots. And whatever. It was a very quick, like, I got to get up to the Outer Banks. I flew back home Wednesday night, got in the car Thursday, drove up there, and I didn't bring any boots or whatever. It doesn't matter. But yes, Ian had a really good time um, mocking the socks there. And that was a good humorous way to show the first test and practical use of 360 video. So that's a benchmark. That happened. That's there. I was the first to bring it to the world, as was Fox Weather, and that's always fun to brag about. It is, because that's neat and what we're going to be able to do with it. Hey, I don't want to give away too many secrets, but this is just the start. Wait until you see all the uses that we will make of immersive 360 video and how Fox Weather will be able to drive that literally. It just makes it so much more interactive. It really, really does. And I think that the on-camera talent will appreciate that going forward. And it doesn't even have to be dramatic weather. It could just be a rainy day somewhere or a setup shot. And just to have a neat little, whatever, they can just move the camera around, the camera view. Really, really exciting stuff. All right. So I think I covered just about everything in today's convoluted update. Let's see how many. 48 people. What was the peak? Was it like 200 and then half the people left? I don't know. Let's see what we got here. Lots of posts from Javier because he's somewhere just hanging out. And what else is he going to do, right? What else? Let's just see who all is here. Long season, Richard, exactly. Um, it was a backloaded season like usual outside of Barrel. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe, Kenny, we're going to have these backloaded seasons. Again, I think it would be really, really good to get a long session with Dr. Klotzbach and just see what he thinks about the future of hurricane seasons, right? Lack of East Coast landfalls could be due to ridging in the west, allowing troughs to dip down over the east during peak season. Um, cool, neutral, what does that mean? Well, that's a hard one to. I have to almost ask, what do you mean when you ask, what does that mean? Cool neutral basically means that you're on the neutral, but the cool side, right? So you have warm neutral. So you're not in El Nino, you're not in La Nina. So warm neutral would be just this side of warm, and cool neutral is just a slightly cooler than average, if that makes sense. And in terms of what it means for patterns and whatever, man, who knows anymore? Like after this year, I'm like, let's just wait for the 5 day forecast to come out and go from there. The models have really been weird. You have your barrels, then you have your periods where there's 6 weeks of nothing, and then all these whatevers and Cat 5 Milton. Like, what in the world? I don't even know. So, we'll just all be in it together, right? Um, any other questions or comments from you guys on the YouTube chat? Let's jump over to Discord just to make sure I'm not missing anything over there. Most of the people in our Discord jump on the YouTube, so that's helpful. So, I'll give you a second for the buffering or whatever to catch up. Take it as it comes. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, really, this year just shows you like what good is worrying about anything even 5 to 7 days out when the rug can be pulled out from under us from the global models. I don't know if they're getting tinkered with and it just messes them up, if the warming atmosphere and the warming oceans that it's all related. Like this was a very strange year to try to figure out. It really was. And it's not throwing in the towel, but it's like re-emphasizing where we're going to put the focus on, because it's all about impact at the end of the day. So how do we get there? How do we get to where we communicate better and understand what we're looking at better? Because not everything needs to be, a 5 alarm fire. We don't need to be doing that. That's for sure. So anyway, hey, William, good question. It's probably somewhat of a loose criteria, but usually notable damage, loss of life, where if that name got used again, it would cause undue anxiety for the region, I guess is how they look at it. And the National Hurricane Center can go and what they do is they get together with the World Meteorological Organization, the WMO, and they meet and they talk about which names should be retired for whatever reason, and usually it's for notable damage, loss of life, economic loss, whatever. So you can certainly count on Helene being retired, probably Milton, Beryl, that's gone. Say goodbye to Beryl. And these are just my opinions, of course. I have nothing to do with it. And outside of that, I don't think anything else this year warranted being retired that I can remember off the top of my head. So anyway, this afternoon on the regular update, just a real quick look back at the hurricane season. We're not done yet. We still have 12 days, but kind of like getting ready to wrap things up. And I'll send a text to Phil and ask him over the next few weeks, does he have an evening where he could just dedicate an unlimited amount of time and he and I can just talk, very off the cuff, um, long format. It's hard because the man's busy just like I am. So I got to lock him down. We'll let him choose a night that he could do that, and I'll get the Zoom and whatever set up, and he and I can just chit chat and see where we go from here because this was a strange season. Yeah, it really, really was. So we'll look at that. We'll look at lower 48 weather, and I think that's about it. So jump back over real quick to the YouTube chat, see what else we got. Hello from San Francisco Bay. Oh, Michael J. Can Sarah strengthen in the Gulf? I don't think so. I really don't. Um, I'll talk about that too in the afternoon update. Most of the low level vorticity, the structure of it is just shattered. Dry air, the shear. Sarah had its chance, didn't take advantage of it. And that's pretty much that. We could probably get something developing, one of those ones that's just out there and December or whatever out in the open Atlantic because it's so warm. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But anything coming up anytime soon, I see nothing So for all intents and purposes, hurricane season is pretty much done. In the physical world, on the calendar, of course, we know it's still going on. Appreciate you tuning in to today's little discussion. I'll drop the video first. Um, Maybe I should do these later in the morning or get up earlier. See, now I'm better. When I first start, I'm just like, ugh, I gotta seriously, I don't drink coffee. Should just do a morning jog or something, I guess. Whatever. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This is fun. It's kind of like we're all just hanging around out in the lobby somewhere or the lecture hall or whatever and chit-chatting, so to speak, at least with the interactivity on the YouTube chat. It's neat. So have a good rest of your morning. I'll see you this afternoon on the update, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for watching.